Now, to finish off today's program, we have a surprise award. Well, at least it was a surprise until yesterday. The first ever Impact Award, given in recognition of an employee's dedication, ingenuity, and influence throughout the agency, goes to Assistant Commissioner David Stark. David started with Parks in 1986. And over the course of his career, he has successfully navigated the agency through countless budget cuts. Most parkies are never aware of the complicated behind-the-scenes negotiation that take place between David and OMB. His deft maneuvering and talents of persuasion have helped guide the agency through many hardships. Not only does David manage the cutting of budgets, he frequently cuts the tension in the most sober of meetings with a quick, usually appropriate joke, always keeping his composure. In addition to his outstanding work of managing our budget, David is an expert in all things related to human resources, from training to staffing to labor relations and more. David has served under 5 commissioners, including Henry Stern twice, and for more than 3 decades, he's been a steady presence in the arsenal, and his tenure is a testament to his skillful and steady hand. His guidance is sought after by deputy commissioners and city park workers alike. David's brilliance, expansive knowledge, and ability to make quick decisions makes him invaluable. David has an open door policy and fosters an open line of communication with his staff. David's welcoming demeanor embraces new opinions, and his deep empathy, respect for the concern of others. David's aversion to subways is matched only by his love of biking. He has a bike rack in his office, and he's been known to do a loop around Central Park on his lunch break, once even getting a ticket for running a red light. On a personal note, I can't tell you that one of the joys of my experiences working here at Parks is working with David. His ability to, I call him the wizard behind the scenes, because when I'm approached with a very complicated process, not only does he solve the problem, he's usually back within the hour for a solution. I can tell you that many of you right now, your job was saved by David. His ability to figure out how to shift resources, and he always has staff top of mind. Whether it's a layoff or any other challenge, David always comes up with another bag of tricks that comes up with a solution that impresses not only me, but OMB. I appreciate his attitude, I appreciate his sense of humor, whether it's on his monthly reports or in our meetings, as I've stated. He is truly someone who is rock foundation to this agency, and this has been for decades. Congratulations, David, for his tireless commitment to Parks and for his impact throughout the agency. We made this a surprise because if I told him that he was a recipient, he probably would have declined. So I opted to do a surprise, but he did find out yesterday because he was going to work from home. That wasn't going to work. David, congratulations and thank you for our first ever Impact Award.
Well, it's quite sobering to consider that when Mozart was my age, he'd been dead for over 20 years. And first, I'd like to thank Commissioner Silver for his recognition and his steadfast leadership during this unending Twilight Zone episode. And I'd like to use the rest of my time to thank staff that have worked with me over the past 35 years. Due to time constraints, I'll limit my remarks to the admin crew, but my affection goes well beyond. In no particular order, I'd like to thank Dawn Byfield, who brought grants to a new level with her expertise in an area mired with more bureaucratic roadblocks than one could imagine. Janice King, she's the glue that connects our admin divisions while making sure I take at least 3 calls a day from Peter Stein. To Joe Trimble, the longest standing labor relations director in the city, whom I trained over 25 years ago when neither of us knew the first thing about labor relations. He's now a repository of knowledge and at the top of his field. Liza Ehrlich, for not only running the country's largest welfare to work program, but doing so with empathy, a characteristic that's so uncommon at this time. Caitlin Hackett, for turning many of my crazier ideas into clever renderings that often exceed my visions. Even Keith Kerman, who many years ago told me, I think I'd better get a driver's license. To David Terhune for managing the most innovative personnel unit in the city and for his heart, which is 3 times larger than mine. Thanking Adam Seidner for tracking every seasonal agreement ever made, allowing me total recall through his diligence. Alan Berg for his guidance and insight on budget policy and strategies over the past 30 years. Parma Tripathi, who said, when hearing of my award, great for you, but don't expect a check. His bark far worse than his bite, and his willingness to make tough calls while always having the technical knowledge to support his decisions is priceless. Nick Lamages for inspiring us with his commitment to family while never missing a deadline. To Marie Almeida, my first boss at Parks, who told me an office romance is trouble and will never last. As I approach my 30th wedding anniversary with my office romance, those words still ring true. To Yating Chang for a timeless support and critical analysis that have added credibility to many of my more unusual recommendations. To Mike Crescenzo for being the Parks Academy for the last 30 years. He's probably touched almost all of our employees in a non-EEO violating way. To Bob Garafola for hiring me 35 years ago. After a long and winding interview, he asked me why I was interested in a budget position with a master's degree in sociology. It was right at that point he realized he was looking at the wrong resume for the whole interview. Not one to be shaken, he asked me to quickly sum up my relevant experience. My response was a knock-knock joke, not recommended by Mike in How to Have a Successful Interview course. Knock-knock. Who's there? Broken pencil. Broken pencil who? It doesn't matter, there's no point. That was the beginning of a friendship that continues to this day, and when I knew Parks was my perfect match. To Joy Wang, whose grace and integrity have made her an integral part of Parks' leadership while having the patience to listen to my stories and cull out what small portion might actually be relevant. To Leslie Nussblatt for her inherent kindness and unflinching dedication to every task she tackles. To Liam Kavanaugh for being my role model as the hardest working, most selfless civil servant I've ever met. We're all part-timers in comparison. And lastly, to Ed Feldman for always having my back, even at the expense of his own. And in closing, I leave you with words that have helped me navigate difficult times. Like a blind man in a dark room seeking a black cat that doesn't exist, I remain hopeful. Once again, thanks.
You didn't let me down, David. That was probably a classic speech. Hopefully it's recorded so we can keep that for eternity. Wow.